Hey guys, how are you doing? Welcome to this lesson number 2, making assumptions about past actions. So, just before we begin, just let's quickly check about the first topic we saw in lesson 1. So it's important to mention that both of these topics have to do with actions from the past, okay? That's why in this case we're using past models to talk about how sure we are that something happened. Okay, so again, we remember that we have a degree of certainty, a degree of how sure we are. And for actions or events that we're almost sure, we're going to be using must have. For possibilities, may have or might have. And no possibility, couldn't have and might not have. So for example, imagine that you made a plan with a friend to go out. So imagine that was yesterday. So yesterday you went to the mall and you were waiting for your friend and she didn't arrive, she was late, and it was strange, right? Because your friend is never late. So in this case, you were wondering why happened, right? So maybe after 2 or 3 hours she didn't arrive, or he, okay? So you decided, well, you went out by yourself and then you went home, and then maybe you said, what happened, right? If you're almost sure, you could have said something like, oh, that's right, I remember, she must have gone to the dentist. I remember that she had a dentist appointment and she told me she wasn't going to be too long, but maybe I don't know, it became complicated. So you have a degree of certainty that you're almost sure, right? Because maybe the day before she mentioned, hey, I have to go to the dentist, and I'll probably be there on time, but I don't know, okay? So maybe that's why you say, oh, that's why, okay, almost sure. If it were a possibility, then maybe you say, oh, well, maybe she may have, I don't know, she may have missed the bus, right? She may have missed the bus. So in this case, again, you're not sure because you think it's a possibility why she didn't arrive, or why maybe she was really late. And then maybe you say, oh, well, she may have forgotten, or she may have missed the bus, or she might have missed the bus. Okay, so maybe, right, that's a possibility because you're not 100%. And for there's no possibility, in this case, you could say, well, she couldn't have been at the dentist, right? She told me that her appointment was until next week. In this case, no possibility, so again you use couldn't have or might not have. Okay, so let's just focus on this topic because we'll see this right now in the next slide, making assumptions about past actions. So we have a small example about Lucy, and it says, why didn't Lucy come to school today, right? Again, so imagine when you were at school and maybe one of your friends or classmates didn't go to school, then people from the class start to give opinions, right? Obviously, depending on their degree of certainty, well, then they may have used different words or expressions. So maybe imagine that you're in class, you're at school, and the teacher says, hey everybody, why didn't Lucy come to school today, right? Maybe because she's always at school and she never misses a day. So everybody starts talking, and maybe one student says, well, she must have been sick. In this case, remember, we have must have. So again, the degree of certainty is the highest and it goes lower. So remember, must have is for something that you're almost sure. That's right. So maybe a friend of Lucy told the teacher, well, she must have been sick. Maybe yesterday or last night I was talking to her and she told me she didn't feel too well. Again, her certainty is very high, so that's why she says must have. Okay, then again, We're using the same example about becoming sick, and maybe a friend, maybe not her friend, but maybe a different student, like a classmate. Maybe that classmate says, "Well, she may have been sick, or she might have been sick," right? In this case, remember that the degree of certainty is a possibility. So you're not 100% sure because maybe you didn't have a conversation with Lucy before, but as a classmate, maybe you just have an idea. You think it's a possibility, right? She may have been sick. Maybe because you saw her 2 days ago at school and she was sneezing, or she was, I don't know, right? So it makes that person feel that it's a possibility, right? Onward. And finally, when there's no possibility, then you say, well, she always comes to school. She couldn't be feeling too well. Okay, so in this case, again, couldn't be is another example of no possibility, right? No possibility that she's feeling too well. Okay, so this is basically how we could use under different scenarios, under different options. In this case, Lucy didn't come to school, right? So you could use it basically for anything, at school, at work, anywhere when you have an event that depends. You're almost sure, or maybe you think it's a possibility, or you think there's no possibility. Okay, so we use degree of certainty. We used modals: must, may, might, or could, and then we combine them with have. All right. So I will see you for the next one, the next lesson. So see you later. Have a nice day.